I was like scrolling through on YouTube, where you can like just kind of scroll over a YouTube video. It'll do like a boomerang of the first couple of seconds, and I realized like the first couple of seconds of every single one of these lives is like us just laughing, and I'm like, perfect. This is now what we'll be doing from here on out. So, without any further ado, Jose, this is your first time on LinkedIn,
Yeah.
like in the last couple weeks. Like, when did you join LinkedIn? Like a week or so ago? When did I see this?
I actually took LinkedIn serious, like really joined like I think 2 weeks ago, a week and a half to 2 weeks ago. I made my first
Okay.
post.
I'm so
So
excited.
we're
What
into new
was
world.
yeah, what was that like? Was it just like I don't know what's happening? Is it like a tap tap? Is this mic on? What was it?
No, honestly, it was very stressful because I didn't want to post something that didn't really represent me, but also show get light on my company too.
Yeah, sure.
Like the whole team behind me, they're like, "Oh, we got to coach him. We got to do this. Like, let's get the cameras." I'm like, "Are you getting cameras for this?" I was, that's good. I was like, "Okay."
Oh my god, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I think it's so funny. I've been on like I had to look this up the other day. Like I joined LinkedIn in 20 oh, LinkedIn told me. They're like, "Welcome, like congratulations for being, on LinkedIn for a decade." I was like, geez, Louise. Okay. Like, and so I went back and looked at it, like what job caused me to like get on LinkedIn. And it was kind of like my first 2014. It was not my first job ever, but it was like my first kind of like corporate title. Like I was corporate compliance director for
Okay.
yeah, like a company here in Houston who I don't know what their total revenue is, but in the product that I had the compliance over, they did about 60 million a year. So
Wow.
just like yeah, mm-hmm.
Big
So it's
company.
one of those. Yeah, exactly. So it's just one of those like, and that's just in one product type. So you're like, oh shit, okay, I'm only selling one thing and it's 60 million a year. Like that's the thing I was over, and I was on the government regulation side of things. So it's like the first time I had kind of like a cool enough title that I was like willing to show off. I was like, look at me, I'm like grown up in like a corporate compliance director. So I think that was I was like, oh, I wasn't looking for a job at the time based on like the time I joined. I was in that job. So I don't know why I joined it necessarily, but it was just like one of those things that seemed like the cool thing to do. And I think mostly for my ego. So I was like, yeah, let's tell people that I'm like here and successful and like doing, all the shit. So that's why I joined. And then I think it's just been like it's felt like a necessity ever since. So it's interesting for me. Like when you mentioned this the other day, I was like, no. How has he been so successful in business without like being on LinkedIn ever? I was like, this is not possible. This is like, we have to talk to him. What's going on?
Yeah, no. So I created the LinkedIn account when I was in college. It's one of those requirements right before graduation. You know how they send you
Oh,
to career counselors and like
sure.
going to help you get interviews and stuff. So they made me create an account, but I really never really used it. I got lucky with an internship and it kind of led to certain things.
Sure.
Well, 2 or 3 weeks ago when I kind of jumped back on it, I had to change the email because I had the old school like
Like your college email or something.
college email. I was like, I don't know the password to this. Like, let's
Yeah,
forget.
like, does that email exist anymore? I don't think so. Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, I think they turned it off because I tried to access it. It was gone.
Mm-mm. It's like my college one is like back when they were like, we're going to give you 2 gigs of data and that should be plenty. And I was like, no, like, are you kidding me? Yeah. And now it's like a proxy, like when you sign up for it. But the importance of a college email in my life is I am old enough that you had to have a college email to sign up for Facebook. So we all like, so my Facebook login was like the first college I ever got accepted to, like, which was not the college I went to, but a bunch of us like did early admission to like, a local community college or something so that we could just like get an email and join Facebook. That's was the goal. So it was one of those like I had to remember that was my login for a lot of times. So it was like, and you're not really allowed to change it. And so I was like, oh shit. Like and then there was like a high school Facebook for a while. So I had a different login for that. And it was just like a hot mess. So my social media presence, you can find a lot of like weird, like dinosaurs of my social media presence around the internet. So it's fun to like Google me every once in a while. And if you get to like page 5 of Google, it's really entertaining. You'll find like my live journal, a couple of blog spots, like yeah,
I'm actually gonna search.
yeah, please. Challenge accepted. Carry on. I have been quoted in who was it? The MIT student newspaper. So
Wow.
that article exists back there somewhere. Yeah, it's very fun. So enjoy if you get past the first like several pages of Google. But yeah. So what's interesting to me though is like what like why did you stay off for so long? Like Like if social media if you had this profile, like what was it that like kept you from using it necessarily?
So I guess when I first started into like into the job market and to getting to like my entrepreneur career, my mentors always kind of like had a negative point of view of social media, right? So they always told
Mm,
me like you don't need to be on social media. Think about imagine you go to a party or a club and then you post a picture. What are your clients are gonna think? On
sure,
top of it, too, like my lawyer, like my legal team are always telling me like asset protection, like they don't need to know what companies you're doing. They don't need to know where you're involved with. They don't need to know how much money you
sure,
have or what lifestyle you're living. So
sure.
an early age, kind of like it was really embedded to me to stay off social media and kind of keep
Mm,
it very personal or social media just for like families and really close friends that connected.
yeah.
But other than that, it's just been privacy until the last
Interesting.
2 years.
Yeah. So what's happened? What's changed the last couple of years?
Well, I became the CEO of the Idea Farm about 2 years ago, and
Yeah.
I honestly did not want to be the CEO of the Idea Farm, but it was a partnership between.
You're like, I didn't really want this, but here it is.
Yeah, it was a partnership between me and Emma Jackson, and I came in from more of like the corporate structure side of things. Like, and
Mm,
Emma's a beautiful, powerful, creative. She's one of the smartest persons I ever met in my life. But she never had like the traditional corporate or how to structure a company properly for
mm,
scale for growth. So when I came in, she was like, Jose, like I came in more of like I'm gonna be an investor. Let's partner up. I'll support your vision.
sure.
And she was like, actually, no, you're gonna help me grow this company. You're gonna be the CEO of the
I'm gonna
company.
put you to work.
Yeah, essentially. And I was like,
That sounds like her.
So the last 2 years has been more about like educating myself on social media, educating myself about more leadership styles, and really putting myself in the forefront.
Great. Interesting. So what do you I'm sure you have heard of people on LinkedIn. Like what happens on LinkedIn? Like what are your kind of like what were your expectations or like prejudices or anything towards the platform, if any?
Um,
What
I
have
don't-
you experienced so far?
so far it's pretty cool. I mean, every networking event, people don't pass out business cards no more. They just like, hey, I mean, LinkedIn. I'm like, oh, okay, so
Yeah.
we
You are scan like and there's like a QR scanner in the search. Like, have you done that?
yeah. So I started doing that.
Yeah, it's awesome. I love it. I'm like, yes, I know. I don't have to spell your name. I don't have to like remember your card. I don't have to send you a follow-up email. This is fantastic. Just let me scan this and move on.
Yeah, so that everybody's really helpful. The tips that they give out. When I started in business, a lot of my education came from like books or traditional mentors that you had to kind of play with. You know what I'm saying? Like you had to
Sure.
buy some of
Yeah.
the time or you had to get in front. Now like the information is so available for anybody to consume, and everybody's willing to share what they've learned over the years and their experiences. So I think the environment is a lot more friendlier in
Mhm.
this era versus when I started.
Yeah.
Um,
Sure.
I'm enjoying it. I'm here to add to the beautiful culture of LinkedIn and continue growing. If that makes any
Yeah. Yeah, totally. I'm like, should we sell this to LinkedIn as advertising content? That's what I feel like.
we do work in marketing, so we should probably
I was like, hang on, I'm getting a sense of something here. Yeah, well, I think that's especially true in the marketing community on LinkedIn, is because it is such like a fast changing industry with all the technologies coming out, all the things, all the different platforms. Like every day I wake up and like read like the Morning Brew and like the D2C email newsletter, and I'm like, okay, what changed overnight on these platforms? And I tell college kids this all the time. Like, if you're coming out of college in marketing, you're already 15 years behind. So you better be like from the first day you decide that's your major, you better be on YouTube, like on these email newsletters, on LinkedIn, understanding like what's happening right now, and then really focus on getting the theory of marketing or the theory of like, how to understand a customer or customer behavior, pricing structures, things like that from college, which are the things that don't change, but then how to apply those in the current tech stack, like that's what's going to like move. Like if you graduated, just like last month in marketing and you think, oh, I'm going to go into SEO, you've been living under a rock because you don't know that like Google changed the whole game like literally a month ago when it comes to SEO. So it's one of those like in marketing, you kind of have to be like open with your peers about like what are you doing over there, because I need that over here.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I would say to add to that point, it's having a network of people that also work in the industry that you can kind of like piggyback their information, their knowledge. Like today we had a
Yeah,
meeting, and in the meeting, like the new AI software that Google's launching is crazy, and you know what I'm
it
saying?
is wild.
Yeah, I'm not in the particular like field like
Sure.
to kind of get the high overview. I was like, wow, it's amazing what's going on and how fast it changes.
Yeah, that's great. I love that. And you're like, wow, this person that's meeting, you're now my new go-to. Like, I'm just gonna outsource that to you to answer questions. Like, I was also in my morning meetings where like I've I've tasked my client with, so there's a few people in like this client group that are like doing different things. I've given one of them who's like the financial backer. I'm like, you get to go make the big contracts with big media. And he's like, okay. So he's just like out there contacting ABC, like send me your media kit. Da, 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 da. And he's like, I think this, and this. He's got a great head for business. I was like, well, you need to ask this, and this. And he's just like punted it back to me. He's like, no, you get to ask that question because you understand the answer better. I'm like, okay, fine. So yeah, no, it's really important to have those like people around you. I agree with that. So what's going on with the idea farm though? Like you said, you're now the CEO, reluctantly, as it were. What is it? What's going on over there?
I mean, there's a lot that's moving right now. So we're opening it up in Florida this year. Actually, this quarter three coming up, we're fully launching the
Wow.
Florida, Lakeland, Florida. We're getting more into lead generation campaigns for clients to help them understand the revenue goals. We're doing an amazing workshop that you're going to be part of.
I know, I'm excited.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, everybody. I get to be on a microphone on a panel again. This is no one's surprised by this,
Yeah.
actually.
But not for the idea from the major goal this quarter or like the rest of this year is to really start educating our consumers and our clients on the full holistic approach to marketing. Not just like, hey, let's create a campaign, let's create a beautiful video, but how to actually take that media and apply it to your business so it can grow your revenue month over month. And
Sure.
actually understand the value that it brings into not only your business but to your community. How the messaging gets across, the tonality, your brand voice, and really
Yeah.
start educating our customers and our community.
That's great. So you guys are a marketing agency. Is there anything in kind of the, I don't love the like full stack marketing term because it's just a misnomer most days, but like what of the full stack do you do or not do? Things like that.
So we're kind of a one-stop shop all, but we kind of really focus on digital advertising, website development, and website management. And then, of course, because of those are our pillars, we have other services that kind of tie back into it, like graphic design, video editing, you know what I'm saying, like graphic
Yeah.
design, any random little projects that we partner up with different contractors or the companies to really
Sure.
drive the vision forward for the client.
Yeah, like I'm not going to come to you only for graphic design, but if I'm already, knee deep in a contract with you on a website, then you're willing to like toss in some graphic design for me.
Exactly.
Okay, perfect.
Again.
What's the I think I'm on here next week, weirdly. Like this is fantastic. Like, I'm loving you guys back to back. So she might be able to talk about this more, but like you guys are new to Houston. Like what's the story there? Like I love that you're opening in Florida, but like didn't you just get to Houston? What's happening? What are we doing? Is it because you just want to move close to the beach? Like what are we up to, Jose?
Oh,
As CEO, I expect some personal things in there.
And no, so me and I've been fortunate over the years to be in a couple different cities, Chicago, Northwest Indiana, Kentucky, and now Houston. Honestly, me and Emma, we kind of moved the company to Houston for two major reasons. One, the financial economy and the opportunities are in Houston are blowing up. It's
I
amazing.
love it.
And two, the weather. Me and Emma hate the cold.
It's so nice. This is why I keep telling people like the weather's amazing and don't knock it. And they're like, well, like I love the snow. I'm like, great, book yourself a week in Aspen, call it a day. Like the number of things I don't keep in my house is amazing. I don't have a winter wardrobe. I don't have snow boots. I don't have a shovel. I don't like I don't have a whole closet dedicated to like puffy coats. Do you know what I'm saying? Like I have a whole closet dedicated to books instead. Like it's amazing. And once you start like knocking out those lifestyle things, we're like, yeah, it would be better to live in there. I'm like, I fucking know. I'm trying to tell you.
Yeah. And then with the Florida story is we're just getting a lot of clients in Florida. We want to becoming our population centers. And for us, in person is really important, right? So we want to make sure that when we're in some type of project or even a retainer client or a recurring service client, we want to go out there and personally be in the business at least once a month or once a quarter, something like that, that we're showing face. Now we're behind a screen and doing Zoom meetings. No, we actually want to be on the ground, understand your business, understand what your needs are, and actually provide value, not just the value you're paying us to do, like website management or website development or digital ads, but actually see the holistic approach. Like, hey, what if we change the workflow this way? How would this impact this? What's your conversion point? If your conversion points are in person, cool. The digital ad could do a lot, but how is the people are answering the phones? How are they communicating with the
Right.
clients? Customer service, what's your Google reviews? So it's
Yeah.
a multi-phase approach.
That's great. I love that. Okay. What part of Florida?
Lakeland, Florida, right next to Orlando.
Where is Oh, okay, perfect. I was like, I only know two things about Florida. One of them is Orlando because Harry Potter World. So I will be coming to visit you guys. We'll do some IRL there. Let's do a live from you guys' office. Um, what's the I want to like dig more into like
Uh,
your background a little bit with like okay, so obviously Emma brought you on to like structure idea farm and like it's going well, you guys are doing great, but like where does that background come from? Like did you go to school for this, or there I know you've got other businesses under your belt, and like my favorite thing about you, and I texted this to Holland the other day, I was like it's so nice to be around people who think bigger than I do, and she was like somebody thinks bigger than you do. I'm like, I know. His name's Jose. We're talking tomorrow. It's gonna be great. So like you like just like coffee chat we had the other day just like pushed me to think like, oh my God, I could be going way faster than I am right now, and I'm just not, and I don't know why. So like I know that you have some other successes in your tool belt. So what are they? What have you done and what have you learned?
so
I know. Deep breath.
yeah, yeah, no, I'm a very curious individual, right? So when I want to learn something, I kind of just dump in, like I jump in. And I've been fortunate enough to be part of a construction company, an accounting firm, two music companies,
Wow.
let me see, a landscaping company, a handyman service, you know what I'm saying?
That's
Uh,
awesome. I'm here for it.
I've been in real estate, property management, and now marketing. Kind of all
Okay.
started back in when I was in the army. Me and my friend Thacker, Jason Thacker, he had a concept for a clothing company called Nav Lifestyles. And it was like when I was like 18, 19, 20 years old. I can't remember. But we used to read, we used to be on the field. And in the field, we used to have Gary Vee's book, Crushing It.
Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
That was kind of like the first inspiration book I read. I was like, yeah, let's get into business. Okay, cool, bet. So I
Okay.
started Crushing It. Then we started reading Rich Dad Poor Dad. And then
Mhm.
I don't know how we came up with this. We ordered some watches off China. We're going to create a Shopify store and kind of like sell them and all that.
Okay.
Short story, it didn't really pan out that well, but it
I
kind of
was
like
like,
kind of gave me the edge. Like, okay, this is
yeah.
possible. Like, people did buy those watches. Did it really kind of like turn into a profitable company? Not at all. We didn't even incorporate, but it was like the start to give me the edge, and then from there it
Cool.
just kind of evolved. And my curiosity,
Mhm.
as as you learn one system of operations, you're like, okay, but how does this intertwine? It's like, okay, I don't know how to do this, but who does? And then
Right.
the person that can teach me.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, that's where like my curiosity comes into play. Like every time I look at a product, and I didn't know this until, in fact, I didn't know this until I got into beauty. So this is like my brand that I launched.
Okay.
Um, and like you don't realize like how many different jobs there are in creating one product. You think it's one company that makes this thing. The person like the company who put this logo on here is a different company than the one who like provided the mirror. It's a different company, the one who made this powder in here. This is my highlighter. I love this highlighter. It's beautiful. It makes me so happy and it lasts forever. It's a champagne color. But the person who makes this thing in here is different than the one who makes this thing out here. Different than the one who makes the hinge. Different than the one that makes this like sticker label on the bottom. Like, and I was the person who wrote all of the shit on either side of this. So like that's a different company on and of itself. So it's one of those things like anytime I get somebody who's really frustrated with like job market and perspective and like whatever, I'm just like, look around the room we're in, understand that every single thing you see, it's someone's job to make that decision. Like what color this was, what logo this is. In fact, the graphic designer who designed this logo is the graphic designer for Ask Your Wife.
Nice.
Just FYI. I know we love her. So like whose job is it to make all these different parts? And like you can do that with a pen. Like the person who made something I learned in the pandemic because our company also made hand sanitizer. The company that makes the lid is not the one who makes the container.
Wow.
Just FYI. So like
Yeah.
yeah, you're like that, and then like getting that to do this is a packaging like engineer's job, and you're just like, oh shit, that there's a lot of things that you can do with your life. It's like how does that happen? I don't know, but let's go figure it out because there's like 10 million different like points of contact here, and that's all representing a different person. that had to come together to do that and make that decision. I think it's one of those really fascinating things like you don't think about because you're just used to, oh, this is a thing. Yeah, you don't think about it. So that's interesting. So curious. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, so but the reality is that person the entrepreneur that had that vision, like you had that vision for your makeup line, has to figure out how to make those connections and how to drive the team to really get your vision across, so then the product can be built.
Yeah, so, totally. What does it take then to like build a good team?
For me, I don't think so. For me, I hire based off one thing. It's just motivation. Like, how hungry are you? Hungry and eager to learn. You can learn. I could teach you operations. I could teach you your job, or I could teach you how to perform your job. Right. I don't need you to have a college degree or have a master's degree. I don't need that. I just need you to be hungry and willing to work and believe in the vision that we're trying to drive across. If you believe in the vision and you're hungry and you're eager to learn, welcome on board. We can train anything else.
I love it. I think that's a philosophy that works. That's my philosophy because I don't have my college degree. I didn't finish it because I was like, well, I have a work opportunity instead. So like, let's go do that. And then that led me to living in Taiwan for a couple of years. I came back from that and like dropped right into a job. Like there's a company waiting for me to get home from Taiwan to like hire me. And they like put off the federal government in order to hire me. I was like, okay. So sort of like, and I have people, in fact, I talked to my university maybe a month ago about finishing my degree. And they're like, this is what it's going to take, blah, blah, blah. I was like, okay. And they're like, and then like, what are you really looking to do with this? I was like, stop. I'm really just looking for a piece of paper with your seal on it. And he's like, oh, and I was like, yeah, you don't realize this, but your MBA graduates come to me for marketing advice. Mm-hmm. And he was like, really? I was like, yeah. So really, you should probably hire me as a professor at this point, but I don't want that job. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's so funny because I'm like, in this generation where we're overeducated and underemployed, it's really fascinating for me to find people who are like employed to the point of education. Like I'm finally maybe hitting a ceiling of like, oh, I could probably use a degree or two because there's like a knowledge gap, right? But also like, I know that if I dedicated maybe 2 hours a day to YouTube, I could probably find that information and just like apply it immediately and learn that way. I think it's a better way to do it. Don't 100%. Tell your
parents. No, 100%. I think the sad part about our industry marketing, right? Me and Emma were having a conversation about this the other day. A lot of the college graduates are coming in to this field. One, they have like $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 in debt. Entry-level jobs are not paying enough to kind of offset that, right? Second thing is like, there isn't that much need right now. Like a lot of people are staying in their companies longer, right? Benefits are getting better, salaries are going up. There's no need to jump between company to company. Mm-hmm. So to me, it's like, Abe, I would, if I was to start all over again, I would just find an internship. I'll find an internship. It could be paid or unpaid for a little bit, and just start kind of going up the ladder like I did originally. I think that's the best way because you learn from so many different perspectives, not just like what people taught you, but like actually. Hey, this actually works. Like, this is actually how you talk to somebody. Set up a microphone and a camera. There's a beauty and art to learning from your own mistakes and understanding like the value in that too.
100%. Like we have probably 40 podcasters around Houston who asked us to come like set up a workshop to teach them how to podcast. And the number one question we always get is like, where'd you learn this? And we're like, YouTube. We taught this ourselves. Like I have a cousin who's amazing, who's like old school, like makes his own guitar pedals and like is in a band and like just like one of those nerdy guys. You're like, okay, I do not have the bandwidth to learn everything about how audio engineering works, but you do. So I called him and I was like, these are the things that I think we need. He's like, great. And he's like, when you've got it all plugged in and set up, call me and I'll walk you through adjusting your levels. From that phone call, we have not touched our soundboard and our sound's incredible. I'm like, perfect. And then like on the flip side of that video is the same way. Like I paid a video editor and a production guy here in town I know to come consult with on lighting. And then this is our lighting setup. It's amazing. You can't really see it down there, but it's like one lantern that sits like between Holland and I. The lighting on it is incredible. And like, guess what? These are phone racks. So like we shoot on iPhone 15s. Okay. And like, I just hand him the phones. He set up the settings and I don't change the settings. So even when I'm like out at a club hanging out, like my video is in like 4K ProRes. People are like, why can't you airdrop that video? I'm like, because it's professional Great. Okay. Calm down. So it's going to look amazing. You're going to be able to blow it up and project it on the side of a wall. They're like, do I want to do that? I'm like, I don't know, but that's what you get when you put me in charge of video. So
I'm a
yeah,
gear
like
junkie.
yeah,
Yeah, I grew up in the studio, so I'm a gear junkie. I buy like
really?
cameras. You've been to the studio here. We got
Yeah.
and cameras that we probably shouldn't. We don't really need, but
Yeah, you're gonna be my next like gearhead like outsource because I'm like, we're not those people. We're like, no, you tell me what I need and where the button is, and that's all that I want. Like, yeah, that's where I'm at. But it is like self-teaching and like networking that I think will get you further than anything else right now. Like,
I will add to that consultants. Like find great
mm,
consultants that are affordable. And when I mean
sure,
affordable, whatever you're willing to or can pay. There's companies of different sizes, different caps.
sure,
But they have a lot of value because to become a consultant, you have to at least been in a profession for what 20, 30 years, have some type of
yeah, totally.
history to back you up, or the reason why I should pay you the money, and then
Yeah,
just take the information you need, help them guide your
just
step.
yeah, interesting. I love that. That's where like I, I've been talking to a few people that are like, nearing retirement age, but they're like, I don't want to stop working because like quality of life is great, right? And retirement planning is terrible. So like I don't want to stop working, but like, corporate America doesn't necessarily want to keep me after 65 because they get really expensive. I was like, well, let's migrate you into like more of a consulting influencer role, like and see what you've got. And it's interesting for me to see like my friends who are my age have startups, have businesses, have things they're like ideas they want to hash out, but they like want to talk to somebody who's got 50 years experience behind them. I'm like, great, let me connect this. So rather than like finding a mentor within a corporate structure, you just find a mentor without the corporate structure
Mhm.
and pay them what they're worth. And I think every startup can afford, a couple $1,000s of just like a almost like a mastermind sit down, like, okay, brain dump everything you think about this problem into this, and then we can sort it out from there, kind of thing. I
Yeah.
love that. I think
And
it's
I'm not
interesting.
shy to say too, like over the years, we have different consultants for different caps of our business, right? Right now, we just
Yeah.
have a new one, Andrew Lamb, and he's helping us scale to the next level of
Mm.
our business, right? Because
Yeah.
I don't think people understand, like when you have when you have a business under $100,000, you operate a certain way. You have a business at $1 million, you operate a certain way. 5 million,
Totally.
a different way, right? Because you have different systems and operations for team members and expectations and like how to actually deliver the best product or even the best service to your clients, but at the same time retain profitability, which is a hard balance to kind of find, right? Like how to thread that needle.
Yeah.
So
Well, I think even like, if I'm remembering this correctly, back in the day, like Facebook, I think Mark Zuckerberg was getting a lot of criticism because he was like, a startup CEO, and then his company skyrocketed. And there were a lot of CEO watchers that were like, hey, man, it's time to hand this off to like a maintenance CEO or a growth CEO or somebody else. And he didn't want to. And it was like, Facebook was suffering because of that. So he just like disappeared for like a year, got some really hefty coaching, and came back and like had a totally different approach. And like there was some interview, I'm sure it was in Forbes with him, that was just like, what have you been doing the last year? Because we haven't heard from you. And he's like, I've been learning to not care. Like, he's like, there are whole divisions of Facebook that, like, I wouldn't do it that way. But guess what? That's not my job. My job is to answer the question or to get the question answered. Is this going to make us money or not? Do you have a case for it or not? And if they do, say yes and let them go. Like, that's it. And I was like, oh, it's so interesting to see, like, it requires either different people or a different mindset. And I think for a different mindset, you've got to bring somebody in, and either that's a coach like you guys did or a different person to actually do the thing, right?
yeah, 100%. Because for me, I'm a control freak sometimes, so it's really hard to like, when they present you their ideas and you have to be like supportive because I don't want to crush nobody's ideas, and I'm like,
Sure.
I don't really like that, but let's try it out. What's the worst that can happen? We can fast track.
I can, having been on y'all's podcast, I can see that where you just like sit back in your chair and you're like listening and listening, and then you're like, but what about that? And it's like the question that like knocks them off their socks. I can totally see you being that person.
Now
Irritatingly.
my mind also runs to like, how much this idea is going to cost us? Gamble that money. I'm like, okay, cool, best say less.
I'm of the mind that like you got to spend money to make money, which is why Holland is the CFO. She's like, no, we're not spending that money up. And I was like, you put a pin in that particular leak. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I believe like Emma is more conservative. I'm more of like let's leverage the crap out of ourselves to grow. It's like no. I was like, calm down.
Yeah, exactly. I think you need both, but like, Holland's mix of that both is like 80-20, 80 her and 20 me. I'm like, no. This is 60-40. And she's like, no, ma'am, absolutely not. It's a constant negotiation. That's so funny. So I don't know, what are you up to? Like, what do you want? Like, we talked about Idea Farm, we've talked about your past, but like, what's next for you? Because I know you think about it.
Yeah, no, I'm in this journey of education right now for me.
Mm,
Being a CEO, especially at our stage of our company, because so the company's been around for about 50 years, right? So in the last 50 years, I say in the last like 10 years, we've done three major pivots, right? The last
mhm,
major pivot was when Facebook kind of did the privacy acts, and we had to really change our approach in marketing and switch from like a targeting approach to more of an attraction approach.
mhm,
Um, and each pivot comes with different leadership requirements, I would say, right?
mm.
Because it's like you have to inspire the creativity from some individuals,
Sure.
or even like at least the freedom to go experiment, but at the same time is um, put the structure in place where it's sustainable. It's like it's in control. And to me as an individual, it's like a lot of my education, my journey I'm trying to continue to learn is, or my leadership style is like that coaching, that perfect balance of coaching where you're not destroying somebody's dream because you're so controlling, but at the same time you're inspiring them to be the best version of themselves and within reasons, of course, kind of
Sure.
go for the world. For me and to travel, I want to see what the world has to offer. I want to see what this company, how far we can push this company, because I honestly believe I think I have the most amazing team. I think Emma Jackson is one of the smartest creative persons I've met. I think she's an amazing creative director. I think she's going to conquer the world in the next 50 years, and I just want to see her story unfold. I believe Casey, our editor and producer, and she's phenomenal what she does. She helps me like kind of structure my life too. So I just believe in my team. I believe finally that we have the core perfect team to really explode and see what this company can really, how far we can really push it.
That's so exciting. Yes, I seriously, I love Casey. She's like my gem. She's so cool. Like, can we if you ever find her missing, it's because we've stolen her. That's all I'm gonna say about it. We're gonna
Well,
leave that right there.
she has that personality that she's not scared to come to me like, no, you're totally wrong. Like, no, this,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm like, but is that true? So I love that fire in her. You know what I'm saying? That she's not afraid to say what's on her mind. And if I'm wrong, I take a step back. I'm like, my bad. I feel back.
Yeah. Well, and creating that, like, there's a term for it that's getting thrown around right now. Psychological safety, I think. Like, to be able to create that on a team is so good. To say, like, it doesn't matter what our titles are, we all have ideas in our sphere, and they need to come together, and they need to like get pushed against each other. It's like my favorite mentor at VP I used to work for this brand actually. He said an idea, if he's like, if I can walk into any room or any presentation and tell whose idea the thing was, it hasn't been pushed far enough. Like,
Mhm.
it needs all of us to push on it together to like make it into something that's worthy of the brand, because an individual's one idea about this thing is not good enough. Like, it becomes an ego situation. Like, oh, I was responsible for this color. I was responsible for this logo. I was responsible, like whatever. Like, no, we did this. The brand did this. Like, it's all of us thinking and pushing on it together. And he even in spaces where like I was the sole decision maker, he would push me. He's like, Vanessa, you think really fast and you come to conclusions really fast, which is great. This is how you're able to like learn quickly, move quickly, do all these things. But like, just because it's your first idea doesn't mean it's the best one. So he would like take a perfectly wonderful idea and hear me out and then be like, I think it needs more. And so he'd force me to push against my own ideas. It
Yeah.
was like such a good, like, I don't know, like I absolutely loved working for him for that reason. Like, he brought together the best team and forced us to like be our best selves, but also like be together as a team and like encourage that, like that push and pull maybe. It was
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. So I come like, so my background's more like music, right? So in the studio, one of my mentors pretty much told me like the record's never done until somebody cries, right? The emotion.
Oh yeah.
Because like, for example, like just
Wow.
a writer writes a song, right? Then the producer
Sure.
starts creating the beat. So you got the writer, you got the producer, then comes the artist that's interpreting the song if they're not actually the writer themselves. And then you have the engineer, the recording engineer that's recording, might give it a different flavor, just different
Right.
reverb, compression, just to get like the vibes. Then you have the mixing engineer that gives it their own different flavor, their own vibes, and pushing certain key elements of the track. and then you have the master engineer, then you have the overall producer, then you come back to the artist. By the time like the record is done, it's been through like 7, 8, 9 different hands, right?
Yeah,
So
sure.
combination approach. So when I came to the Ideal Farm, it's like everybody was kind of like off in their own little corner. We came back, we're like, no, we're gonna actually treat this like we're working on the record. We're gonna every single project, everybody's touching something of it.
Yeah, interesting. Wow. I love that. What's been like I'm reading Rick Rubin's book right now on creativity. Some like deep, like yeah, like deep. If it's right over here, actually, it's like it's right here in my life. But anyway, it's really interesting to like take that like how to approach a creative thing and put it into like let's call it a non-creative act, which is like corporate America, and then you realize like actually they're the same. This it might not be like a Grammy winning, soundtrack to, some Oscar winning movie, but like it is something that like makes a difference. It's supposed to resonate with a human being, which means it needs to feel like it's made by a human, right? It needs to feel like it's, like actually going to resonate with me on some level about something. It needs to solve a problem in my life. Like these are still human beings making financial decisions on the back end. That requires some creativity and some element of humanity. And I just like that it's been interesting to realize like what he's talking about in the studio is the same things that we do on a marketing team, on a product development team, even on a financial team, on a forecasting team, right? Like the way that my forecasters put together like forecasting models is sometimes really straightforward, and sometimes like they have to kind of take all their parameters into account and be like, but how do we creatively solve this problem by meeting all of these criteria? Like it takes a different kind of thinking, and I think that's fascinating.
No, definitely. Even like we had a production meeting today. We're shooting at a school this morning,
Mm-hmm.
and then the team was like, "What's the emotion we're pushing behind this video? Like, what do we really want to capture?" So it's like
What a
even
good
like
question.
we have like the scripts, we have everything we want, but like no, what's the actual emotion um we want to capture? That's gonna dictate to us what angles we're gonna shoot, what music we're gonna push behind it, the editor.
Sure.
So I'm with you 100%. I think people underestimate that. Like the emotional connection in marketing, it's key to success. If there's not an emotional connection or some type of relativity, it's not going to be successful. And
Totally.
people think too much on the data. They're like, oh, I'm going to learn this ad strategy, but they forget the most basic and the most important thing, which is emotion and connection with human beings. We're all human.
This is the coaching that I provide this morning to my client. Is like he was like, yeah, I'm gonna go around and like ask everybody. They own a food truck park and a tap room, and he's like, yeah, I really want to like ask everybody like how they found out about us. And I'm like, that's a fine question, but I want you like, and he's like, because I really want to know whether they're coming from Google or coming from Facebook or coming from this. I'm like, that's a fine question to start with. I want you to go further and figure out you like I told him it was like I got him out to the 5 whys concept. Like I need you to ask at least 5 questions to get down to the root cause of like, okay, were you hungry? Were you bored? Is your kitchen clean and you don't want to mess it up? Like, how did you get out of the house? Like, and like when did you first decide you had a problem? And the problem was I don't want to cook, or I don't want to go to my regular date night, or I don't want to, like let's get down to that. Like, and what's the feeling that's driving this decision? Because they didn't start by searching food truck park. They didn't start by searching tap room. They didn't start by searching restaurants near me. They started with like some kind of discontent and an itch to solve it. So if we can tap into that human emotion, then we can really clarify your messaging and get people here faster.
Definitely. I think at the core, marketers, me and Emma said we're storytellers. We
Yeah.
want we want to tell your story. We use words, key phrases to connect with people in a different level, right?
Mm-hmm.
I can't speak to I'm speaking to you to somebody that doesn't know marketing or doesn't know
Sure.
anything about the industry. We change language, we change the style of communication to make sure that the message is being resonated to with the listener. That's our jobs. So
Yeah.
once you want to, like for example, the food truck, like once they can figure out the root cause of why that person made the decision to come to your food truck, that opens
Mm-hmm.
the floodgates for you to actually dive into so many different elements and really
Totally.
attention.
Yeah. No, I'm so excited to see like you can see like the gears moving behind his eyes. He was like, oh, I get it. I'm like, uh-huh. So I'm excited for like next week's meeting to be like, so what did you learn? That's awesome. Well,
Wow.
cool. What I feel like I had something else to ask you and I've forgotten what it was.
Wait, I'm an open book. to a certain degree.
I know, no, exactly. Um, what's your? Oh, how long have you been in Houston? Remind me. Just a year?
October, yeah, no, I don't even think we hit a year yet. We've been here since October of last year. So
Okay, favorite tacos? This is like the question that gets asked all the time.
so far, like I in
Yes. Okay, 100%. In fact, you'll enjoy this. I went on a date to next to La Calle uh, is a bar called Houston Watch Co. And it's like
oh,
an
yeah.
old watch, like, workshop and design, whatever. When you go to the bathroom, just so you know, when you go to the bathroom, the vaults are still there. So you can like look inside the vaults. They're very cool. So the whole thing is very like old timey, whatever. I showed up, and this is the difficulty of dating. I showed up and like this guy wanted me to meet him at the bar at 7 o'clock. I was like, okay. I had not eaten anything all day, which was my bad. But I mentioned this to the bartender. I was like, hey man, can you keep water coming? He's like, sure, what's up? And I was like, I haven't eaten anything all day. And he's like, I got you. My ratio is 3-1. I was like, thank you. So then this guy like sat next to me, didn't pick up on the cue. I'm like, my guy, we are next to La Calle. Let's have one drink, go next door for tacos, and come back to the bar. He didn't get it. I'm so sad. So I ended the date early at 10, and then I went to La Calle, like just next door. He's like, can I walk you your car? And I was like, no. He's like, for tacos. He's like, oh, can I come with you? I was like, didn't you just say you had places to be?
No, yeah, I take that spot out. It's pretty nice. I like the vault, and it's pretty good vibe.
So fun. Like, I love it. Okay, best burger?
That's actually hard because I don't think I have a best burger. Been on this diet recently, so I haven't really checked out that many burger spots yet.
Okay, you're gonna break your diet to come hang out with me because I have a burger shop for you. Have you like explored any of the like neighborhoods in terms of like Indian food, Chinese food, Ethiopian food, whatever?
I wish I had. I'm not gonna lie to you. The workload right now is so crazy. So like I'm a robot. Office, home, work.
No, stop. All right, this is my goal for you. You're gonna teach me how to think bigger, and I'm gonna take you out for food because obviously that's what we do in this town. That's gonna be the vibe.
I have a question for you though.
Say that again.
I have a question for you.
Okay, let's have it.
Okay. So what advice you'll give like startups or brand new entrepreneurs for their social media strategies or even them coming into the field?
Oh yeah. Okay. So first and foremost, your competitive advantage is you. I need to know who you are. I can get this information from everywhere and anywhere that I possibly could. We've already talked about this. In fact, like I think during the pandemic, all the Ivy Leagues put all their coursework online for free. Now, if you want to get it, like take a test and like get credit for it, you have to pay them, obviously. But like Cornell's Intro to Marketing is available online. Like it's wild. So just like your competitive advantage is you. So I need to know who you are. And what that means for me is like a lot of people will say like, okay, so I need to put my whole life on the internet. That is not accurate. You need to pick 2 or 3 things that the internet gets to know everything about you on. And like this is telling. I'm gonna give you my strategy, where I'm at, if it's cool, and what I'm eating. Because like I love food. So like I'm one of those people who will Instagram every single thing that I'm eating because I'm always eating good things. In fact, like the other day, I got a little excessive the other day because I was like had back-to-back meetings or at really good restaurants. And so I was like, is my entire feed podcasting and food? Hell yeah, it is. Like it's just that's what existed on my, and all my friends were like, yeah, that's why we follow you. I'm like, I know, even in my personal social, this is what I do. So you got to pick a couple areas of your life that the internet gets to know everything. They get to know the whole thing all the way down. I think the best example of this is like, I've worked with a lot of like, mommy lifestyle bloggers, and like a lot of them have like really serious privacy issues with like sharing their kids' pictures online. I'm like, you can be a mommy lifestyle blogger without ever talking about your children, without ever naming your children, without ever showing their face. You totally can. But it forces you to talk about motherhood, not your kids' lives. Like, what does motherhood mean to me? But like the internet gets to know everything you feel about motherhood and not anything about your kids. So it has to be kind of that narrow, but you've got to let the internet have everything. Like if they feel like you're guarding anything, they're going to push on it. Like the best example of this is like Kate Middleton right now. Everyone knows she's not around, right? And it finally forced the royal family to say, yeah, because she's got cancer. And we're like, okay. So we backed off for like a couple months, but now it's like starting up again. Okay, but where is she? We know people with cancer. We see them all the time. Call Susan G. Komen. She puts people with cancer in front of our face every October. Like, so where is she? What's happening? And now it's like so if you're gonna tell them like, okay, my health is a thing that you get to know, they get to know all of it. So like if you decide that like going to the gym is something you're gonna share with the internet, when you don't feel like going to the gym, you also get to share it with them. When you feel like going to the gym, if you like broke your ankle, great. That's going to impact your ability to go to the gym. You need to share it with them. So that's number one. It's like they need to know who you are, but they don't have to know all of you, but they do need to know a piece of you all the way down. From there, like this is kind of an old school rule, but I love it is follow the 80-20 rule, which is 80% of your content needs to be providing value to the conversation at no cost, no ask, no nothing. 20% you get to ask them to do something. And that's going to be like, subscribe, follow, share, blah, blah, blah. 20% of that 20% can be, hey, come buy this thing from me. So even the 80-20 rule exists within the 20%. So only, 20% of 20% gets to be you actually talking about your business that drives revenue. And it seems very counterintuitive, but
yeah,
I can see you're just like, no. What are your reservations? Let's have them.
I don't have reservations. I agree with you. I'm just trying to like, I'm listening to you. I'm trying to learn myself. So I'm thinking about like, okay, what's my LinkedIn strategy? Okay, what are my two things about? It's a lot.
Totally. And like for you, what I think it would be interesting is like the 80%, I would say like answer the following questions. Like, how do you start a business? How do you come up with an idea? How do you find a hole in the market? But then how do you get the team together to exploit that hole in the market? Right. And just teaching people how you do that, how you think about that, what your processes are, and getting more granular with that. That's a great like way to talk about what you know, like offer your expertise to the conversation without asking them to do something. And what you'll find happens is like people will understand very quickly you're an expert in something. And when they come across that problem in their life, they're already going to have a preference for you in the market. So like, actually, I don't know how to find this answer, but I know that Jose often has the answers to lots of questions that are kind of adjacent to this. So I wonder if he can help me.
But doesn't that put like a, like I sometimes I feel like the market's so oversaturated with some gurus opening companies.
Sure.
And a lot of them are saying some weird information I don't think it was like really helpful or valuable at all. Or even like go off in the wrong direction. I'm like, whoa.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Yep. So rule number 3 is the third segue. Rule number 3 is it must be authentic. If you're not an expert, don't set yourself up as an expert. There are a lot of people where you get the ick in that is like a lot of people say, this is the only way to do this. This is the only way to do marketing. This is the only way to do content management. This is the only way to do investorship, whatever. Rather, you should set yourself up as this is the way that I learned how to do it, or these are my experiences doing it. And I want you to come on this journey with me. And like, if you're behind me in some areas, then I can help you. If I'm behind you in some areas, then you can help me. Right. And I think actually Geeka's great. She's like, you're the only one who says it the way you say it. So you might be saying something exactly the same way as another, serial entrepreneur, but like you're going to resonate with people that he can't or she can't because like you're just different people. I think that's solid advice. So yeah, it's you have to be authentic. You have to be yourself, period, the end. And the moment you aren't, like people feel it. Like I had a friend of mine who she grew up in a very conservative household. She knew from a very young age she was into girls and not boys, but like she didn't tell anybody that. Our entire friendship, I always felt there was something a little guarded about her because she'd never come out to me. And then when she finally did, I was like, And then our relationship after that, I've never felt that she's been guarded with me. So it's one of those things that was like the back of my mind for 12 or 15 years. I'm just like, there's something she's not like, I couldn't put it together because I frankly don't care like what anybody's sexuality is. I'm like, cool. Are we going to Amsterdam or not? Are we going to Disneyland or not? Like, what are we up to? But it was interesting to see just that little tiny change where she was finally like 100% authentic with me about who she was. That like guardedness just disappeared. So you have to be yourself. People are going to pick up on it and they're not going to know why. Like, they're not going to know why they feel weird about you, but that's because you're not being honest with them.
honestly too. I don't know if you ever read the book The Reason Why. Um,
Yeah. Mhm.
that's what just came to my mind. Is like, why do we go into business? Like, why do we become entrepreneurs? Because to be honest, I think the best like phrase or hearing saying I ever heard in my life is like being an entrepreneur. Is that you wake up in the morning, you get punched by the world, and you solve problems, and you go to sleep, and you wake up again, and you're getting punched in the face again, and it's like a constant putting out fires, right? So
Yeah,
like,
totally.
want to be an entrepreneur, but at the same time, is like for me, it's like I can't see myself doing anything else in life. Like,
100%. Like I'm I'm in this space right now where I have the same problem. Like I'm on sabbatical from work to help my family out with some things, and I have like these big questions to ask myself. Like, do I want to go back to work for someone else? Do I want to go work for myself? Do I want to go back to school? And like these are like kind of really I haven't had this kind of level of big life decision making since I was trying to go to college the first time, like back in 2005, and I was 18. But like same questions, like what do you want to do, like why are you doing this? And for me it becomes like I want to make a difference in the world, and that means that I'm working for myself and charting my own path. That's where that comes out. So
yeah. Question. So, what's the motivation for you? Like, what's your motivation for when we get up in the morning, other than making a difference in the world? Like, what really motivates you?
Hmm. I That's a good question. I think right now, with like my current like family life situation, it's stability and longevity. Like
Mhm.
I want to make sure this foundation just churns, just goes as expected. Because like my mom has early onset dementia, and she will if she does what her mother did, she'll live for another 20 years, healthy as an ox, but can't remember a damn thing. So like I need that not to be a financial detriment to me or my sister, because that has already happened once in our family history, and we're not gonna let that cycle continue. So for me, it's like, how do I seek like financial stability for my mother and make sure she's taken care of and she can live as comfortable as she wants to for as long as she wants to, and then how do I make sure that that stability is long lasting, because I don't know how long she's going to be here. So that's number one for me. That's I think the anomaly, frankly. Um, if I think back to like maybe 5 years ago, for me it just becomes like, how do I like, it's answering the question like, who am I going to meet today that inspires me? Like I fucking love people, like more than more than a person honestly should, like more than most extroverts do. I'm like, I want to know like what makes that person tick, like what drives them, like, and like I want to connect with something real inside them, and like see if we can do this together. Like I believe in so nerdy. I'm in my office, so like there's all the books, there's all the academic here, but like I believe in the Hegelian dialectic. I believe in like, and Hegel says like there's a thesis, which is the prevailing thought. There's an antithesis, which is any thought that's not that. And then the two of them together, when they're pitted against each other, and when they come into conflict with each other, they create synthesis. So you create a wholly new thing, which becomes the new thesis, and then there will inevitably rise an antithesis, which will create more synthesis. Like that's what I want. I'm like, I'm not seeking conflict, but I am seeking like people who think differently than me, and like what is it that we can like come together on, what is it we can have a conversation on, and like this is particular unnerving in dating, is because like I want somebody who's willing to push back on that, who's willing to like have different thoughts, to have different ideas. Like I think this is why Holland and I's partnership works really well, because our skill sets are 100% complementary. They're not the same whatsoever, and sometimes that leads to some conflict in our relationship, where we just have to remember like, okay, each of us needs to go to ground, we're in this together, but like we're thinking about it differently, so we need to like find the common ground and go from there. So it's just like for me it's like, who am I going to meet today that's really interesting and that I'm really going to connect with? What's that connection, and what's it going to produce? What new synthesis are we really going to achieve today? Because I think the whole world drives forward at that point.
No, I agree, 100%. Honestly, that's awesome. My motivation for me is like solving puzzles in a sense.
Oh, interesting.
So I got this from my consultant, right, Andrew.
Uh-huh.
The reason why is like I make, for example, my why is to make a better way. How? By
Uh-huh.
simplifying life and make it make
Mm.
sense to me, make sense to everybody.
Ooh. I like that on the mug. Like, wow, I need to. I'm like, my current water jug is my cranberry juice jar. I was like, this is gonna be lightly cranberry flavored water. But I feel like I need to like put some Sharpie on it and be like, listen, these are the things that you're doing and why you're doing it. I love that. That's great.
Yeah, honestly, it's like the motivation to journey is not an easy journey. Sometimes,
No.
like you said, you and Holland has sometimes conflicts. Me and Emma also have conflicts. Me and Emma complement each other really well,
Yeah.
but sometimes it's a little bit too well. You know what I'm saying? We go in competition.
Agreed.
uh,
Agreed.
yeah. So sometimes, like, it's funny because we've been on this journey, me and Emma, where our company has either gone. We grew really really fast last year, and
Mhm.
then that was a problem in itself. Like, oh crap, we don't have.
Sure. It's a good problem to have, but yeah.
And then when we changed up like kind of like the process and business model, we had a different business, right?
Mhm.
And last month, right, like last week, me and her said back,
Yes.
we're
Those
doing
are
like
the same.
yeah, we're doing a little financial recap of the month. We're like, so we have all the bills are paid, everything's paid in advance. Customers are happy, employees are happy. We don't have no major fires. This is strange for us.
They're like, oh, are we successful? Is that what's
Yeah.
happening? Did it work?
I think motivation for us is it's like the core front for what we do. We love what we do.
Mhm.
We're creatives. We love problem solving. We love seeing people's visions. We like talking to people, communicating with people like yourselves. And honestly, that drives us. I think that's why we're entrepreneurs.
I love it. I love it. I'm excited. So that is what you need to like focus on in your content. Put that out in the world.
I don't know. I'm shy. I'm an introvert. I'm very shy. It's hard. It's
Mhm.
definitely hard to. I can spend up all night learning new stuff about like music, cameras,
Sure.
acquisitions, whatever. But to sit down and actually write my little plan of social media strategy for myself is so hard. But I can go to the company. I'm like, yeah. So this is what you need to do. This is the ad strategy. This is why it makes sense. This is how we're going to show revenue. Here's your lead cost. Like,
Yeah.
it's like so much harder.
Well, and like, so think about it, like if that helps to detach yourself a little bit from your content, it's super useful. So think about it like that. Like, what am I trying to accomplish in this? It's more connection, more inspiration, more, like, what is it the thing that drives me? And then like, 20% is going to be your business. And then the other 80% pick four things, right? That each get 20% of your content and say, okay, one of these things is I'm gonna find the best burger in Houston. One of these things is I'm gonna like talk about all of the times I failed as a leader, as an entrepreneur, as a what all the failed businesses that I've ever had. That's a thing that people don't talk about on LinkedIn. I think it'd be very fun to have. And then like the other one can be, just pick two other ones and then like sit down, plan it out, and then I'd say shoot it immediately. So just like as soon as you have that idea, just sit down and be like, all right, I'm gonna pick 5 different shirts, or like Holland, you just wear all black and call it a day. That might be the vibe for you, frankly. I'm like, I have to change my hair color every 5 months. Like, what are we doing? So, and then shoot it all at once and then schedule it. That way you are removed from it and it just goes. And it's just sometimes easier to deal with when you're like, okay, I have the energy now. Let's go do it and then recover from it, introvert. And then like, but guess what? In the course of my recovery, it's just churning out there.
Yeah, you just said something that kind of sparked an idea in me.
Mm.
It's like the power of failure, especially in, like in the business world. A failure is never a failure. If you think about it,
Yeah.
it's just how to put the strategy for your own gain. Like
Yeah.
there's so many business owners and corporations that file bankruptcy, but they don't file bankruptcy because they're going out of business. They file bankruptcy to restructure
Yes.
it.
Yes. Well, and I think that's where I get irritated with like LinkedIn guys all the time is like they're only talking about their wins. And I'm like, that's not reality. That's that inauthenticity that like gives me that little bit of like, I don't like it. So like if you can come out the gate with like, hey guys, this is every time that I failed, I think that'll be unique and interesting and very authentic and very cool.
You want to hear a funny story real fast?
Yes, I do. Absolutely.
So I own Classic Cuts Barbershop in Valparaiso, Indiana. It's been around for almost 7 years. It's like
Okay.
crown jewel. I love that business. I'm never gonna sell it. That's my baby.
Okay, perfect.
Uh, right before the pandemic, like 6, 7 months before the pandemic, I had this genius idea. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna make a brand of the barbershop, and I'm gonna call it a classic spa. We're gonna kind of cater more to like facials, esthetician work, all this
Okay.
great jazz. So what happens? We develop the business. We invest. I think over 800 grand roughly.
Okay.
Something crazy.
Sure.
And we launched a business. Right, 2 months after opening, the pandemic happens. We survived, I think, 6 months in total before we had to like
Yeah, you're
close shop.
done.
We're
Yeah.
done. But the beautiful thing about how we closed the business, which was one of the biggest lessons I ever learned, is like we structured the closing in such a way that we actually had 40 grand back from the IRS. We applied that back to a different business. It was
Wow.
such a beautiful way, which I was looking at my accountants. I'm like, how in the heck did you guys finesse?
Congratulations. Yeah, yeah. Good job to you all. Gold star.
Yeah.
Can I get the number of your accountant? That's what I learned from this. That's
Exactly, yeah.
awesome.
That's one thing. That's a classic spot. It's technically a failure because we went out of business,
Sure.
but technically it was not a failure. It gave me the funds to open something else and then kind of move
Yeah,
on trajectory.
I support that. Okay, well, I mean, I will cut that story out of this recording and give it to you, and you can use it all you'd like. But I think that content's awesome. I think that's exactly who you are, which is like, this is a core belief of mine. Failure is not failure. It's just a way to pivot, right? And make that your content stream. Okay, well, I'm excited. Anytime that I can play a role. So, okay, cool. You're awesome. I love you, and you're doing great work. And I'm excited to have you in Houston. Don't leave for Florida too often without taking me with you, obviously. And I can't wait to see what your LinkedIn content turns out to be.
The pressure's on.
I know, exactly. Ready, go. All right, talk to you later.
Bye.